Good evening and welcome to Better Thyself segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. When I took over as a CEO of in a private organization in the private sector, quite a change. Then the process of recruiting senior staff was a major job because I wanted my team to be the best. And then I came upon this anagram which I formed myself, SCUD. Now, SCUD covers what my basic principles were, and they were two traits which I looked for the people. Whenever anybody will come to me, apart from the body language or the person carries himself or herself, I would look only for two traits. And if the person had a definitive evidence of those two traits, that person would be hired. In the chambers of commerce, in the World Economic Forum and everywhere, people would talk about it and some would make fun of it. But lo and behold, 215, Satya Nadella confirmed that what I had been doing quite some years back, 30 years back, was what he was doing. He had read about me, in a feature article in Business India, and he followed those traits. Procter & Gamble, their senior staff follows this trait. And there are only two traits. If you have them, you are fit to be there, and you are fit to go ahead as a CFO, as a COO, or a CEO. So if you want to be that, find out, be clear whether you have those traits or not. You see, when people like Satya Nadella and Procter & Gamble follow my example, then I assume that all great CEOs are of the same mind and they follow the line of thought which I had. So what is it? First thing I look for is a trait of clarity. Does the candidate have the clarity or not? If he is not clear, he is not meant for me. Now, clarity has different aspects. First is the clarity of thought. Is a question which is asked, answered with confidence? Is it to follow well-considered sporting rationale? So the lucidity of thought, the clarity of thought is the prime example of clarity. But clarity is not only of thought. Clarity also needs clarity of communication. Are you able to present your thoughts in an organized fashion? Or are you rambling in your answers? If your response is a rambling response, your thought cannot be clear, and if your thought is not clear, your communication cannot be clear. People try to pose, but then immediately when the delivery takes place, when they are asked to explain their thought, then they start mumbling, jumbling, saying and so on, and they fail. Just kicking in with stream of consciousness approach. And I read about stream of consciousness when I was studying Virginia Woolf. So I applied that. So when Kennedy tries to kick in with a stream of consciousness approach, he clearly shows that he does not have sufficient clarity. There's a lack of that. So committing your thoughts to the paper forces you to think in a clear, structured way to build an effective argument. And if you cannot build an effective argument, then you are not the person for me or for any other great CEO. So before you answer any question, imagine that you have to respond in a spoken format, but as if you are writing it. And then, normally the people who first give their conclusion and then the supporting points back with data, they are successful. I want to know the conclusion as a CEO. And then I want to know the basis. If the structure is not there, the conclusion is of no need. But then clarity is not only of thought and communication. There has to be clarity of intent as well. That means that you are not distracted. You know what your intention is. And if the discussion requires that you reveal what you want or why you want something, be upfront. If you try to hide, if you try to cover up, that means your intention is not clear. You want to show that your thoughts are clear, you are able to communicate it, but your inner psyche betrays you. And then clarity of the story. The whole interview is nothing but a storytelling exercise, let me tell you. You'll be amused, but then that's a fact. We, as CEOs and CEOs, do not want stereotyped answers which you give to HR department. The HR department is paid to ask those questions which may be of no relevance. I, as a CEO, want to ask questions which is extremely relevant. So if you have clarity of thought, clarity of communication, clarity of intent, you should have a clarity of story as well. And when the interview is over, then I think, well, did he present a clear, forceful story? And if there's not a clear picture emerging out of the interview, then something is wrong somewhere. And if something is wrong in the state of Denmark, then Hamlet has to die. Let's be very clear about that. And that's what happens. The candidates who would come to me would not be having clarity of thought, or clarity of communication, or clarity of intent, or clarity of story. One way or the other would make their whole exercise futile. And they would cut a sorry figure, mumble, touch their face, button their coat, unbutton their coat, do whatever. So this is the first major trait, clarity, and the 4 subdivisions of clarity. The second major trait, which makes you hireable, is, do you create energy? You can tell the people from energy zappers and energy sappers. Do you zap energy or do you sap energy? Are you an energy sucker or are you an energy releaser? You are a mile away and I can judge whether you are an energy sapper or an energy sapper or energy zapper. Energy zappers exude and create energy. They are like a 1,000-watt bulb coming immediately on the moment you enter the room. And that is what is required. I want to add to my team those people who create energy and are confident of creating energy. Everybody likes working with somebody who gives them energy. If you're sucking energy, you're a drag, you're a burden. So why should we have you? So that's the second quality. And if you have these 2 qualities, clarity of thought, communication, intent, and story, collected under one heading, and you create clarity. Clarity is a picture. And if you can create that picture with these 4 pillars, or erect this house or a hall of your complete story with these 4 pillars of thought, communication, intent, and story, then you are the person for me. And you are the person who can take the baton from me to run the company. If you are not, well, you are one of the hundreds and thousands of people who are in the rat race, but who are not the leaders. They might be CEOs, they might become CEOs, but they are not the leaders. So these, and secondly, can you create energy? Are you a generator of energy? I know about myself. I was the chair of the Ethnic Press Council of Canada. And as chair, I had to go and present the meeting. And one day, Maria Saras, the vice president, I entered. I said, Dr. Lamba, the moment you enter, there's a wave of energy, as if all the lights have gone up and all the darkness has been dispelled. Well, I'm not saying it just to boast, but I'm telling you, that's what happens. You shake hands with a person, and if the shaking hand is insipid, listless, you feel you are touching a lifeless hand, you're not getting energy. But you shake hands with a person who looks at you in your eyes, gives you a firm grasp, a bit of a half smile, and you feel perked up. That is generating the energy. So, can these things be taught? They can be. But more than being taught is the ability to learn. Any book will tell you that. But what I'm telling you today is the secret of being a good leader is to create clarity and create energy. Clarity with the 4 subtitles. Now, I used in the beginning the word SCUD, and I did not mean SCUD missile. Actually, I made this SCUD as an acronym, as an anagram, which I had asked myself during interviews as a person who was going to judge. Are these guys firing SCUD missiles, or are they dead missiles? And by SCUD was spark, S for spark, C for curiosity, U for urgency, and D for drive, SCUD. If you don't have spark, you cannot create energy. If you do not have curiosity, you cannot have clarity of story. If you are not having clarity of intent, you don't have the energy. And if you don't have communication and thought, you don't have drive. So you need spark. You need curiosity. You need urgency. You need drive. And if you have that, then you are having SCUD. And SCUD missiles give a winning edge in the war, and it gave winning edge in the interview. My experience has been that the people who learn the attributes of SCUD, the 2 traits that make you hireable, either have it or they don't have it. And they have it, but they are not exploiting it. And different people show these capabilities in different ways. But what's more important is that you show these capabilities. That people are aware that, okay, this guy has come, he's creating energy, he has clarity, intent, truth, story, he can communicate. You know, one thing you can be sure is that if you try to be dishonest, if you are fake, then you're out. The person interviewing you, the CEO, is not an idiot. He knows that you're faking. If you're an introvert and you don't have to fake to be an extrovert, there's nothing wrong with being an introvert. Connoting energy happens in more ways than just showing outward display. Energy is created not only by the display, but by small voice inflection. It can be created by small targeted shows of passion. It can be created by being extra clear and articulating your answers. If you're not extra clear, if you're not articulate, if you cannot show a burst of passion when you're talking, then are you better than a dumb, wet rat? And as I, as a CEO, nor would Satya Nadella want a wet rat to be in any position of authority in a good organization. So think about it. These two traits, the clarity with the four subsets and energy, if you have them, you are not only hireable, you are winning. Now the choice is yours. Are you going to better thyself by having a SCUD with you? And again, SCUD, they mean spark, curiosity, urgency, drive. If you have them, you are a winner. If you don't have them, well, nobody can help you. Nobody can save you. Think about it. Thank you.